Buckeyes are headed back to Indianapolis after a 27-9 win over Michigan, which does a couple of things. One, it gets Ryan Day his second win in the rivalry. He's now 2-4. Two, Ohio State improves to 12-0 for the second time since Ryan Day's been the head coach. Three, it sets up a Heisman Trophy potential battle between Julian Sand, Fernando Mendoza, and maybe even Jeremiah Smith to a lesser extent next weekend in Indianapolis. Four, it's snowing. That's just fact number 4 in that situation. Let's just react. I have a fifth one. I can't remember it right now. But, Stefan, you know the drill. We're moving up to 20 this week, though, because we love you guys that much that we want to give you more and more content.
We want more content about this game.
Yeah. What's the biggest takeaway from Ohio State's win over Michigan?
Like euphoria, relief. Ryan Day got asked a question in the postgame presser of like, does this feel like a weight off of your shoulder? And before like downplaying it, he literally exhaled before answering the question. I was like, yes, this is a weight off of his shoulders. My biggest takeaway is that Ohio State handled this rivalry in this game in a manner that is so far from everything we've seen the last 4 years. This did not look like any post-COVID rendition of the game from Ohio State's perspective. And we can start on Monday or Sunday, whenever the week started, and the way they approached this about not having the band come in and moving senior tackle last year and keeping press conferences the same. Listen, if you're watching this at home, and I probably agree with you, you're probably looking at that being like, it probably doesn't matter, but for the sake of the mentals, if something's broke, fix it, right? You say if something ain't broke, don't fix it. Is that what? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. If it's broke, fix it. That was their way of trying to fix it. Maybe it seems minimal from the outside. Maybe it had no real effect on this game, but they tried something different. So their approach in the week was different. The way they played was so different. Early mistake from Julian Sand with the interception. Michigan on their first possession starts the game with popping a big run. Like Jenny Taft's talking to Ryan Day. She's like, what do you think about the game? And he's like, we're going to go after them right away. 30 seconds later, Jordan Marshall's running right behind us here. And you're just like, well, crap. and Ryan Day had a very similar reaction where he was like, that's not how this was supposed to start. Michigan goes up 3-0. Pick. Michigan goes up 6-0. Every time the past 4 years something like that has happened, you make the jokes and you see the tweets and you hear the commentators talk about how tight Ohio State gets. They don't respond to those moments in this game because this game is just so in their heads. Everything about this looked like every other game. Their approach to the game was like every other game. The way they played this was like every other game. I had said coming in, I predicted 24-10. Gillis, you had 24-9. What was yours?
31-13.
So we were all kind of in the same ballpark. And I think the vision we all had in our head was the way they played against Texas is how they're going to play this, but with more trust for Julian Sand. They can open the offense a bit more. It was such a professional approach. You see it in the NFL where it's just like they come out, they have command, and you're sitting there wondering, like, okay, like there was a situation where it's like, is this a good spot to punt? I don't know. Whether you punt or not, whether you go for it or not, whether you convert or not, you trust your defense, right? Ohio State came back from that 6-0 deficit, gave itself a lead. It was clear that Bryce Underwood and his Michigan offense, they were only going to do so much. They had some success running the ball early and then didn't late. Like, you trusted your defense to figure out, like, everything was so professional about the approach and the game plan and the way they handled adversity in this game. It did not look like any of the last 4 Ohio State-Michigan games. That's my biggest takeaway is they wanted to change their approach in this game, and they played like a team that changed their approach, whether it's mental, whether it's physical, whatever it was. This did not look anything like Ohio State versus Michigan in terms of what we've seen in the Ryan Day era.
I think I just got snow in my ear. It's cold out here. What's your biggest takeaway?
Yeah. I say this kind of tongue-in-cheek.
What does that mean, tongue-in-cheek? Like, you're just
kind of like sarcastically. Yeah.
Tongue-in-cheek.
Nice. Yet another game between Ohio State and Michigan where the team that won the rushing battle won the game. And I bring that up to illustrate a point that I think is important. And we're going to talk about this on the podcast.
No, we're not. I'm just telling you
They did not win this game because they won the rushing battle. Like that, when you think about why Ohio State won today, you're not going, well, because they ran the ball, that's about it. Jeremiah Smith, 4th and 5, gutsy call by Ryan Day, gutsy throw by Julian Sayin, great route by JJ, catching the ball. That's a big momentum-shifting play, not just this game, but this rivalry. The bomb to Carnell Tate, yeah, that was really, really big. The fact that Ohio State gave up the one rush to Marshall, they got put with a short field. They gave up 6 points in that first quarter in the first couple of minutes, and you went, oh, boy. And then they held firm. The defense was dominant. And because you opened up everything else, you were able to have a 20-play drive that lasted like 11:56, that went 80-something yards, that put you up 3 scores, put you up 27-9. So Ohio State, we had talked so much about this game plan from last year, right? And how much that was a mess, and how Ohio State's offensive line got dominated, and all those things are true. Ohio State did not have that game plan today. They came out aggressive. They came out with the right mentality. The first play of the game was a bomb to Carnell on this side. The guy who has not played since November 1st. They were like, you know what? Throw him the ball. Go deep. Go catch the ball. So Ohio State won the rushing battle because they didn't commit to the running game as its main source of income, right? They did not say, well, we have to run the ball, and that's how we have to win this game. No, they came out slinging it, let Michigan know they could do it. The receivers, by the way, who looked fine to me, they looked as advertised. They looked pretty good. The receivers did their job. The passer, quarterback Julian Sayin, did his job. The defense, remarkable again. And then you were able to bleed the clock. It was very much it's causation correlation, that run game style. The team that wins the rushing battle wins the game. Okay, Ohio State was able to win the game because they were bleeding the clock on Michigan, and Michigan had to respect the way that Ohio State was throwing the ball. So yeah, they approached this game like from a schematic standpoint the right way.
Let me just say real quick on the rushing battle why that stat has always kind of been stupid, frankly, in its usage.
Who's ever winning the game already is running the ball, and the loser has to throw it.
Ohio State won the rushing battle. Ohio State was trailing in the rushing battle like 106-70 around halftime. Yep. Michigan was dominating the rushing battle early in the game. Ohio State won the rushing battle because they were winning and they ran clock. And they had a 20-play drive late in the third quarter, early in the fourth quarter, to put the game away because they were just trying to run clock, and they happened to do so 20 times on a drive.
So I remember the fifth point I wanted to make at the beginning of this. Ohio State just ended Michigan's season.
Yeah.
I mean,
the Capital One Bowl might be fun.
Yeah, semantics guy over here. The season, if Michigan won this game, they were going to make the college football playoff and go to the Big Ten championship game. So Ohio State's been on the opposite side of that with Michigan over the last few years, where it's you lost this game, now you can't go to Indy. Your season is over. Now, in 2022, you got new life. Yeah. But that was hindsight, and then last year they expanded the playoff. So it wasn't over, but nobody was thinking about that the day of the loss. So you just in a 12-team playoff world, they expanded the playoff, and Ohio State was still in a position where it could end its rival season, and they did it in their rival stadium. Over there, Brutus, in the middle of the third quarter, was Xing out the M in the end zone and was doing a script Ohio in the snow. They were trolling. They didn't plant a flag. Will Kazmarek, I saw a video. He tried to plant a flag, an Ohio flag, and Ryan Day said no. They're choosing the humble route over the cocky route, which I think is smart because there's too much happening now to spend. They're gonna spend their energy doing this today, but then tomorrow they have to wake up, watch the film, and get ready for Indiana. So you can't put all your emotion into this, which leads me to my point. Everything is either stupid or a genius, depending on whether it works or not. Right? Is that wrong?
No. What? 4th and 5 to Jeremiah. Let's not forget the formation was 3 tight ends, Bo Jackson, and Jeremiah. We're like, what are they running on 4th and 5 where Jeremiah's the only receiver on the field? And then we're like, oh, they're just going to throw it to Jeremiah.
But it's genius because it worked.
Yes.
When JJ played 22 snaps and then was limping off the field 2 weeks ago, we were all like, well, why'd you play him if he was already hurt? But if he hadn't limped off the field, would anybody be saying that? They'd just be like, man, look at JJ, toughing it out there. So the way they approached it this week, I think it got too much pub. I don't think it got too much pub because just for the sake of people highlighting it. I just think the conversation about it didn't evolve. Because it was always, everything in sports is results based. When Urban Meyer is playing LL Cool J, it's time for war throughout the facility all day for 7 straight days. That's psychotic behavior, but it's winning.
But it's working.
So you keep doing it, and he's like the cool rah-rah guy. Had they lost, people would have been like, why are you doing that? That's stupid. Stop doing that. So Ryan Day keeps that approach, and it gets him a win in 2019. And he's talking about how relieving it was because it was too much pressure, because that's not who he is. That's not the program he has built. So he continues to have that. He continues the pressure cooker that is this game. And then they started losing it. And what happened? We're all like, stop trying to be tough. Stop trying to be this. Stop trying to be that. When he first got hired, everybody was asking, what are you going to do that's going to separate yourself from Urban Meyer? And it's not just you running Urban Meyer's program. Then he starts doing those things, and people get mad at him. He's kind of damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. So when he says on Wednesday night, I get all these things are fun and they're great, but it's not working. So you have to change things. It clicked for me. Like, yeah, I get it. And if it doesn't work, you go back to the drawing board and you try something else. But you change things. You move the band here, right? You do senior tackle later. Everybody has private jets now. Why would we be driving a bus when we can just get on a plane? I don't think that's that big of a deal that they didn't get. Did we like driving here, or would you rather take a private jet?
I can tell you the drive back ain't going to be too fun.
Okay, so
of this.
Exactly.
I think my face is frozen while you were talking. I was rubbing my face. I was like, I think it's frozen.
Okay, now imagine if you played a football game.
And you're from California.
Right. So it's just, okay, if it didn't work, then we're going to go, that didn't work, you should try something else. But it worked. Yeah. His approach worked. Be professional. Be humble. Lock in. Respect the rivalry. Honor it. Acknowledge it. But don't make it this event. And now it's 27-9. Now he's got work to do to keep flipping it, right? I think he's flipped it, but now he's got to keep doing it. He's 2-4, but now it doesn't feel like they're coming off this emotional high when 7 days from now they have to play the number 2 team in the country in Indianapolis. Yeah. So I get it. Culture, all this stuff, all these tradition things, I think they're important, but in a world where they have to prioritize and they might play 16 to 17 games, there's a bigger fish to fry. This is not the end of the story the way it was 4 years ago, right? 2 years ago. So because of that, if Ryan Day had to figure out how to attack the rivalry in a way that best worked for him and the program he's built, not in a way that was best for Urban Meyer and the program he built, or the program that Jim Tressel built, or that Woody Hayes built, or Earl Bruce, or John Cooper. He had to find it for himself, and it worked. It got him a victory. So it's genius. Because it worked. Just like 4th and 5. It worked, so it's fine. That's what it is. Everything is results-based business. And now they go back to the drawing board and try to repeat as national champions.
I think. Oh yeah, I've got time to go big picture because I'm gonna go big picture on you. I'm gonna take that, go one more step. Okay. Ohio State's on the verge of going 16-0 this season, right? We cover the team, so we were close to it. I don't know. You turn on like Andy and Ari, the way they talk about Ohio State, it's like, I don't know. It seems like it's Ohio State versus the field right now. Yeah. I don't think we're too close to it to say that. They're the number 1 team in the country. They're about to face Indiana. We'll see what happens there. But right now, Ohio State's a pretty heavy favorite to win a national title. And when you look at the recruiting, the success that they've had in the portal, even if it's not, getting 20 guys in the portal at a time, there's just everything that Ohio State is doing as a program is a winning formula. Yeah. And there's no, they just won a national title, favorites to do it again. It's I get it. If you don't want to say, because it's too early, that like, this looks like the next Bama, this is going to be, with Saban retired, this is what's next. If you do want to go hyperbole and maybe start looking ahead and see how things are panning out, which we like to do sometimes, they are on that path. And I think the reason they're on that path is because they lost to Michigan last year.
I wrote that at the buzzer, yeah.
Because what happens if Jaden Fielding makes 2 field goals last year, they win 16-13, and they say everything's fine. Look, we won. Do we think I'm asking you guys. Do you think we're here if that happens?
I think it possibly, because they were still a good football team, but there was definitely he'll never admit it publicly, but there was definitely a battery pack that was put in him when you get to, it's like you're either going to lay down there or you're going to get out. Well, it's just kind of like when you get that low, you're either going to climb out of the hole or you're not, right? So to your point, though, it does feel like, think of what they've done since they lost to Michigan. They haven't lost. They haven't lost. They have the longest winning streak in college football, but they've beat top 10 Tennessee, number 1 Oregon, top 10 Texas, top 10 Notre Dame, number 1 Texas, ran through everybody else, and now they just ended Michigan's season. Like, there's no problems anymore. This was like the last thing to check off, and we're here. Like, they're chasing history now.
So I want like Stefan's 100% right, but like that, that's a kind of a long-term thing. Like, let's shorten this to a 4-game window. And I wrote about this after the game. Ohio State might have just gotten over its biggest hurdle, mental, physical, whatever, to going 16-0.
There's a snowflake going my ear. I'm sorry.
I thought you were reacting to something I said.
I mean, that did give me the goosebumps, but I don't like cold weather. If you go back to our videos from 2021, you see me fighting the snow. That's what's happening right now.
So,
all right, just trying to be entertaining and all this.
I understand. So I wrote about this after the game. Like, the 3 teams that come to mind really when you think like best teams the last 25 years, like 01 Miami, 19 LSU, 2020 Bama. Like, Bama, I think, had 7 ranked wins. I think LSU had 6. Miami had 5. Miami only went 12-0 because, that was the way that the college football season was structured at the time.
Shame on them for not playing more games, not winning games that they couldn't play.
But all of them, Ohio State entered today with more than a 30-point average margin of victory. That went slightly down, obviously, but you won by 18 points. That has been, like, you start to map it out. 2019 LSU, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. They had a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback and the 2 best receivers in the sport. Does that sound familiar to you guys? 2020 Bama, they had Mac Jones and a Heisman Trophy winning wide receiver. Does that sound familiar to you guys with 2 guys in New York? Ohio State, when you look at the All-Americans that those teams had, I think Miami somehow only had 2. It was Bryant McKinney and Ed Reed. Everybody else had 4 or 5, they had a handful of consensus All-Americans. They had the ranked wins that I'm talking about. Ohio State now has beaten Texas when they were ranked. They beat Illinois when they were ranked. Now, I know Illinois is no longer ranked, but part of that reason is because this team beat them. Then they beat Michigan. There's 3. If you win 4 more games, Indiana, and then whatever that's going to be in the quarterfinal, in that scenario, it would be the 8-9, and then whoever's left, we are going to be looking at this team not just as, hey, wow, they were really good. We are going to be looking at this team as one of the best college football teams that has ever played this sport. And today was their biggest path to do that, because there are people watching this who will 100% admit this, that will say, if you would ask me at 11:50 today, who do you feel better beating? Who do you feel better about beating? Michigan or Indiana? There would have been a lot of people that would have said, probably feel better about Indiana, even though they're 12-0 and the number 2 team in the country. What's that?
Yeah, Indiana. We weren't alive the last time Indiana beat
right,
Ohio State.
and Indiana's very good, and they are really, really, trust me, they are very, very good. They're going to get a bye. But there were people who just looked at this and said, this mental block, it's too much. It's too big of a thing. Then you start to map out, Ohio State is going to, when we look back at this, Carnell Tate's a first-round pick. Caleb Downs a first-round pick. Arvell Reese a first-round pick. Sonny Siles, underrated part and very, very minute picture. Sonny Siles balled today. Sonny Siles played like a first-round pick. Caden McDonald, maybe first-round pick. I'm still on the Davison train for maybe first-round pick. This team has a ton of players. When you stack this up, you're going to look at it, if Ohio State goes 16-0 and go, my goodness, they might be maybe the best team of all time. And today was the path that kind of opened that door, because that door was not available to them before they walked into the big house with a win. This door was not, it was fun to talk about, but it wasn't there, because how could you possibly look at this team and say, oh man, well, once they simply take care of Michigan, it'll be fine for the Buckeyes, they'll be cool. No, you couldn't take anything for granted. I know we all picked them to win. I know we all picked them to cover. You could not look at this team and say, well, Michigan, they're not as good as them. They'll probably beat them. No, because Michigan, frankly, had kind of earned that respect. Michigan ran the ball well. They had done things in a good way against Ohio State. They had been Ohio State's kryptonite. The one thing that has beat this team in the last 4 years, Ohio State just beat. There is now a path for 16-0, and we are having some big-time historical conversations.
So I want to close this out because, one, I think we're running short on time, but also I'm cold.
I got one more.
Most importantly. Oh, then go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
The thing I wrote at the buzzer was, and I've been thinking about this, I've been bringing up Saban's name for 8 months now. It's ridiculous. I think Michigan unlocked their monster when they beat Ohio State in the way they beat Ohio State and everything that they had to deal with. And I also think Ryan Day, at the same time as that monster being created, figured out college football. That's where the Saban thing is, of like that void is absent. There's not a king in college football right now, and Ohio State is already the most recession-proof program in the country, and they have a guy who has kind of had some foresight on how to deal with certain things, whether it's roster retention, roster management as together, the innovational offense. He's got stars at the right position groups. He's got the right people in the right seats now. I don't know. I just think last year's loss was like kind of the final straw. And it unlocked something. And I don't know if, like, now the rest of college football has to deal with it. And sure, he's got this monkey off of his back, but I think college football was going to have to deal with this regardless. And I'm not really sure right now who has an answer for that around the sport.
Yeah, and to Andrew's point, and it ties into your point as well, we had this conversation on our Buckeye Talk live show during one of the bye weeks where we talked about super teams and can Ohio State be one this year. And we said, yeah, I mean, no, in the 12-team era, to be the first team to go undefeated, you can be in the super team conversation. And I think probably by the time the Penn State game finished, everyone in college football was like, whoa, this could be a super team. But you couldn't say it because there was the one thing kind of lingering. It was this game. Now that this game is passed, like Andrew alluded to, it feels like this was kind of the mountain. Now it's like, all right, can you not say cruise from here, because they're going to play four really tough. Yes, they're going to play a really tough schedule. Like, it is not easy from here, but this was the one caveat of, like, can they be a super team? Well, they got to do something that they haven't done in 5 years. So it's like, it's tough to do. The last point I want to make, so the game started at noon. So it's 5 o'clock as I'm speaking right now. The better part of the last 5 hours we spent watching Ohio State play pretty damn tough against Michigan, to the point where, like, in the fourth quarter, there was a hit by Caleb Downs where I was like, I don't think Michigan wants to be out here anymore. In those 3.5 hours of watching Ohio State, compared to the 30 minutes we've been standing out here, do you respect Ohio State more now that we're outside in the elements for the hits they delivered, or while you were watching them?
While I was watching them, because I don't like this weather. I would have been on Michigan's side.
Did your respect grow more now that you've been standing? You could imagine doing this for 3.5 hours.
No. I don't like this. This sucks. I am not built to play in Big Ten weather football, which is why I don't play football. I don't want to do this. I want to go indoors, and that's what we're going to do. Yeah, not in this kind of. Yeah. Listen,
people are built different.
If I was a top NFL draft pick, I would hold out if the number one pick did not play on a dome. But that's me. I'm not JJ. I'm not choosing to leave Miami to come to Columbus to play in this. Makes him a better man than me. And that's okay. 614-350-3315, 2-week free trial.
We're going to go draw Buckeye Talk in the snow now back there.
No, I'm going to go in the press box. They can have fun in the snow. 614-350-3315, 2-week free trial. $3.99 after that. Postseason's here. Well, not kind of, because, like, Ohio State can lose next week and still their season's not over. But it's like, it's not win and go home season yet, but it is postseason. We're headed to Indy. Winner of that game goes to the Rose Bowl. Loser of that game goes to the Cotton Bowl. But regardless, I think both of these teams are going to get a bye. 614-350-3315, 2-week free trial. $3.99 after that, and go listen to Buckeye Talk wherever you find podcasts. Ohio State 27, Michigan 9. Snaps a 4-game losing streak to the Wolverines. Steven, Stefan, Andrew, I'm cold. Goodbye.